Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 14, George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel. And our topic is Theory of Freedom of the Individual. Hegel's theory of state leads us to another important conclusion. Because only the state knows what is in individual's interest, and because the state is always infallible, and because the state is divine, therefore the individuals have no rights outside the state or against the state, because state itself is the fountain of rights. Freedom of the individual lies in the complete obedience of laws of the state. It is only as an obedient citizen with the universe. In other words, state is a superorganism in which no one has any individual preferences different from those of the large unit. Thus, one aspect of Hegel's philosophy which is of greatest significance is the exaltation of the state and complete negation of the individual's rights and freedoms. Real freedom of the individual can be realized only in the state. The only way for the individual to be free is to willingly obey the laws of the state. In a subtle sense, Hegel's position on the question of relationship between state and individual is very close to Rousseau's position. You will recall that Rousseau had argued that each individual has two wills: actual will, which is selfish, and the real will, which is rational. Freedom in Rousseau's philosophy means subordination of actual wills to the real wills or the general will. In the same way, in Hegel's philosophy, the individual is free only if he identifies himself consciously with the laws of the state. Because the state for Hegel is infallible and because it can never be wrong, therefore, if there is ever a conflict between individual and the state, the individual is always wrong and the state is always right. It is also interesting to compare Hegel's position with the position of Hobbes on this or relation between the individual and the state. Hegel maintains that individuals have no right to resist the state or disobey the commands of the state. To take an analogy, just as part of human body cannot revolt against the body, in the same way individuals cannot revolt against the state. Given this position of Hegel, we can say that Hegelian state is like the Hobbesian Leviathan in New Graph. In fact, in Hegel, the position of state vis-a-vis the individual is more exalted than in Hobbes. Hobbes at least grants to the individual the right to revolt against the state if the state fails to protect his life. The individuals in the Hobbesian social contract agreed to submit themselves to the state in the hope that state will ensure safety of their life and property. If the state or the sovereign is unable to do so, then the individuals have the inherent right to refuse to obey the sovereign. However, Hegel does not grant any such right to the individual. This is so because the state for Hegel is the embodiment of reason and individuals are products of the state. In some sense, the relationship between the state and individual in Hegel is an organic relationship, while in Hobbes it remains a mechanical relationship based on contract. Next point is conclusion. Hegel is undoubtedly one of the greatest political thinkers of modern times. He is considered to be a pragmatic thinker because he tries to idealize and rationalize the actual existing Prussian state. What is real is rational. With a pronounced Eurocentrism in the background of the Protestant Revolution, he was convinced that Germany in particular and Europe in general have approached the near final form of historical evolution. The German state for him marked the culmination and final destination of absolute idea. He attributed to the state not only a distinct personality, but also a moral totality. Hegel rejected Kant's notion of perpetual peace and accepting different forms of regimes, accepted war as a mechanism of setting two alternative claims of rights. Hegel had no doctrine of just war. Hegel's greatest contribution was a new discipline, the philosophy of history, a method of measuring historical evolution with the confidence of inevitable progress. In this, he not only influenced Marx but also Saint Simon, Comte, and Tony B. His overall intellectual influence extended from Marxism to existentialism, leading to conflicting claims, criticisms, and adultation. Karl Popper saw him as a precursor of 20th century fascism. Kufem, reacting to Popper, said that Hegel was not a radical individualist, but certainly not a totalitarian. Both Avenatti and Marcuse concurred with Kaufmann, Fukuyama, making a comparison between the continued influence of Marx and Hegel, proclaimed the triumph of Hegel. As modern liberalism does not end the desire for recognition but transforms into a more rational form. The classical tradition ended with Hegel, as MacLeiner observed that no new fundamental innovations have been possible after him. This is reflected by the fact that after Hegel began a period of refinement in political theory. As last of the Titans, Hegel's influence continues to be an important ingredient in contemporary political philosophy. Now, the summary of the unit. Hegel was influenced by Socrates or dialectics, Aristotle or teleology, Rousseau or actual will and rational will, and Immanuel Kant, rationalism. Secondly, we have noted that Hegel's method is dialectical. In order to arrive at truth, a thing must be understood in relation to its opposite. This is a process of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. The third important aspect of Hegel's political is his theory of history. He looks at history as the gradual evolution of absolute idea or the spirit. History is progress, but it moves in violent spirals. The most important aspect of his political philosophy is his theory of state, which is based on the axiom that what is rational is real and what is real is rational. It means that for him all that exists or all that is real is rational because it is a part of unfolding of reason. Similarly, all that is rational must actually exist. He raised the state to the highest pedestal and even called it the march of God on earth. This is so because state is the highest and the final manifestation of reason or absolute idea. The earlier state witnessed in this evolutionary are the following: inorganic world, organic world, human beings, family, and civil society. By raising the state to such an exalted position, he denied any freedom to the individual. He treated the state as an end rather than a means. Since state is reason personified, it is infallible. Individuals can enjoy their freedom only by fully identifying with the state. Therefore, in Hegel's philosophy, individuals have no right against the state. State is a whole, and individuals are parts that constitute this whole, and this whole is larger than the sum total of its parts. As different organs of body can neither exist nor develop in opposition to or outside the body. Similarly, individuals had no existence apart from and outside the state. State in Hegel's philosophy is like Hobbes' Leviathan. In fact, Hegel goes beyond Hobbes insofar as Hobbes implicitly granted the right to the individual to resist the state, but Hegel does not allow any such right to the individual. Hegel's political philosophy has exercised great influence during the last 2 centuries. The rise of fascism in Italy and totalitarianism in Soviet Union is attributed to his philosophy. The Chandal swing to the right is said to have drawn inspiration from his philosophy. He glorified war because, in his view, it brings out the noblest qualities of men. He viewed war as an instrument in the hands of world spirits to facilitate the development of world according to dialect of history. Here we want to wind up this lecture and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you so much for your attention.